for the average person that's looking at it superficially, seem like they're not really relevant to your life in the year 2024, where you're, young, single, looking to get married one day, or you're married, newlywed, you have a couple of kids maybe, or you're older already, you're in your 40s, your life is relatively developed, and you got a little business going, you got a position at some major company. What am I going to do with the clothing of the Kohen Gadol? What am I going to do with this? How could I apply the weekly parasha to my life? Some people don't know that it's halacha, Shulchan Aruch. Halacha, this is not a recommendation, this is not a suggestion. Halacha, Shulchan Aruch, every Jew must read the weekly parasha twice. Twice. Shtay mikra v'echad targum. Twice you have to read the parasha, and once with commentary. Meaning you have to go through the parasha 3 times every week. Many times people do this on Friday or on Shabbat. They use one of the, the time that the Baal Koreh reads the Torah is one of the times. They do the other times, right there and then, or after shul, before, during the week. Bottom line is, just like you have to, make a blessing on when you wash your hands, or you have to eat kosher food, or anything else in Torah, it's halacha that every Jew has to learn the weekly parasha twice and commentary on the parasha once. So, even when it's a parasha where, on the surface of things, it doesn't look like it's relevant to your life. It doesn't look like it's relevant to your life. So first you have to know that just because something doesn't look relevant, doesn't mean it's not relevant. And since we're already on the train of stories, I'll tell you another story. But this story didn't happen 2,000 years ago. This story took place about 400 years ago. The Gadol HaDor at the time was Rav Yom Tov Heller. Rav Yom Tov Heller was one of the Tosfot, was an extraordinary Chacham. At the time he was living in I believe in Prague, and he was extraordinarily successful in the world of Torah, major notoriety all over Europe. He was the biggest rabbi, in the continent. He was one of the Gadol HaDor. He was also extraordinarily successful financially. He was well off, not as well off as the Goyim thought he was, but nonetheless, he was well off. Now, the King Ferdinand II passed a decree that since there was a war at the time and they wanted to raise more money for the war, so of course the victim of all of the crimes of the enemies of the Jews are always, going to they're going to make the Jews the victims, even for their mistakes. So what happened? They wanted to tax, or they taxed the Jewish community in their $40,000. In so many words, in today's money, I don't know, $40 million. Extraordinary amount of money, or maybe more. Now, of course, unlike today, where each to their own mentality that people have, this came to the Jewish community. Who has to deal with it? The Gadol HaDor, Rav Yom Tov Heller. And Rav Yom Tov Heller knew that, the poor people in the community that are barely making ends meet, they can't contribute much. On the other hand, there's a few rich people within the Jewish community. They have to contribute more. Why? They have more. HaShem blessed them with more. Therefore, they have a bigger responsibility. So he ruled that the wealthier people in the community have to contribute a large chunk of this $40,000 that was due to the government. Now you would think, okay, these are all religious people, keep Shabbat, keep the holidays, give tzedakah. The biggest rabbi in the world, chief rabbi, told you this is what you have to do. You do it. Well, it didn't work out so well. Why? Shortly after he told them this, they didn't really like it, and they asked for others to get involved. There was a meeting over it. they reevaluated the whole thing and confirmed that what the rabbi said was fair. According to the Torah, it was 100% fair. Well, before they ever gave the money, all of a sudden, as Rav Yom Tov Heller is studying his holy Torah, he gets a knock on the door. It's one of the messengers of the king telling him there's a ruling where you are under arrest and you have to come to the castle. You have to come to the court. It's a big embarrassment. They arrest the biggest rabbi in the world, treat him like a criminal without even telling him what the charges are, tell him that he did something against the kinghood. What did he do? Long story short, finally they go to the court, they tell him the charges, that he's under arrest. Why? Because in your books you wrote derogatory statements against the Christian people, which is the people there, that this is their country. You wrote derogatory things against the Christian people. You called us idolaters, and according to the law, if proven guilty, which we have proofs of it and even witnesses, if proven guilty, death penalty. Death penalty. He said, what witnesses do you have? What are you talking about? What I said is, no, he tries to defend himself. Like, nah, we're not buying it. He goes, no, I wasn't talking about the Christians. I was talking about other Gentiles. We don't buy it. We don't buy it. What witnesses? Who said that? Who are you? You're relying on what your Christian scholars are telling you? And the court surprised him by telling him, no. We have people from your community that came to us and told us that you are constantly talking against the Christian people and calling us idolaters. The pain of being in prison and being literally a stone throw away from getting the death penalty was big. But to hear that this all came from wicked Jews that pretend to be religious was the heartbreak of all heartbreaks. Now, Rav Yom Tov Heller had a few friends, obviously many people loved him. They did whatever they could to help him improve the conditions, at least until the trial. Long story short, one of the friends got him to be able to meet with the king, King Ferdinand himself. And King Ferdinand said, yeah, I know about your case, and but because of your friends and that are friends of mine, I'm willing to hear you out. What do you have to say about it? And Rav Yom Tov Heller says, listen, Your Highness, these are false charges. I didn't talk about you. He says, but you're saying in your books, you're saying that the Christians are idol worshippers. She goes, no. If you notice in my books, I don't say the word Christian in my book. I say the word akum. And akum, Your Highness, means people that are worshiping foreign gods that are that are Gentiles that are foreign, that are worshiping other gods. It's not necessarily the Christians. So, and he tries to explain to this king how there's a difference between akum, where they worship the stars and the moon and all types of idols and, foreign things. And really, he's not referring to the Christians. Now, of course, according to the Chachamim, the Christianity is considered idolatry. But he's not telling him this. He needs to save his life. He's not obligated to tell him that, really, yes, you guys are the idol worshippers and please kill me. He's allowed to say, no, we're saying akum. Akum is ones that are worship stars and other idols. Whereas you guys believe in a Trinity, which for us Jews is forbidden, but you're entitled to believe what you want, but you're not the same as the people that worship an actual statue or pray to the sun. So the king, Ferdinand, was a smart man, and he said to him, wait a minute. How many of these akums, how many of these are in Prague? He said, not many. When was the last time you saw one? He says, Your Highness, I never saw one. He says, how many of these are in Europe? People that are worshiping the stars, that you've seen, that you know of. He says, Your Highness, I don't know of any. He says, so how do you expect me to believe that you wrote in multiple books, multiple times, about these idol worshippers that don't exist, and it's not really referring to us? Why would you ever write about something that doesn't exist? And the genius of Rav Yom Tov Heller says to the king, that literally has his life in his hands, if you will, the flesh and blood, allowed to kill him, says to him, Your Highness, you believe in our Holy Torah. You believe in the Old Testament. Yes. He says, you know that in the Old Testament, we have Parashat Tetzaveh. We have Parasha talks about the clothing of the Kohen Gadol. We have Parasha talks about the Beit HaMikdash. We have Parasha talks about all of the sacrifices. And you know that us Jews, we study those laws day in and day out. Every single day we study this. Even though our Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, even though we don't have a Kohen Gadol, even though in essence you can't really implement all of these laws to our lives today, but yet we still study them because we believe these are the words of the living God. This is what our Torah is not about just what can I do today, but rather we learn the entire body of the divine words of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because all the words of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and all of it needs to be studied. The things that are clearly something that you could apply to your life today, and the things that are not necessarily something you could apply to your lives today, all of it must be studied. This, Rabotai Yekarim, is what saved his life. Even though the argument against him came from within the Jewish community that nearly killed him, Rav Yom Tov Heller had the Siyata Dishmaya to, in essence, show one example of why HaKadosh Baruch Hu had us study some of these things that may at first look like they are not relevant. We are meant to be a light unto the nations, not to follow their misguided practices. Remember, every Jew has to remember that he's a Jew and she's a Jew. We don't celebrate non-Jewish holidays, even if they seem harmless. It's a zilzul, disrespect to the Torah, and could lead to Chilul HaShem, desecration of God's name. Stick to our holy Torah and our own holidays. That's the path of a true Jew.